right, everyone. We are going to start our next session, which is continuing on an incredible conversation about media and storytelling careers and climate. I'm really excited to do this session. As a media creator myself in the climate space, I think media and storytelling careers get a bit underrated for how they're discussed and how they're driving conversation. But I think there's so many valuable skills to be gained in this space. And we're really excited to have this conversation today. And I would love for our panelists to introduce themselves.
Let's do it. Hi, everyone. I'm Ciatti. I lead up climate and sustainability creator partnerships at YouTube. So I get to partner both with Kristy and Isaias, which I'm very grateful for. But I get to work in this wonderful space, working with creators a lot, and very excited to be here with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Isaias Hernandez. I am an environmental educator and also media creator under QueerBrownVegan, and I've been doing climate media storytelling since 2019. It's been my full-time job since then.
Amazing, amazing. So to kick us off, I was curious, there's so many ways you could define a media and storytelling career, but I was curious if you guys could walk us through what your career journeys have actually looked like. Like how did it start? What made you feel that media was your outlet to doing climate action? Give us a paint us a picture of what that looked like.
Should I go first? I'll go first. All right. So my career journey is a winding one. I actually have a degree in advertising and photography, so I don't even have a sustainability degree. So I bopped around many different places in my career. So I did producing at photo studios. I was creative producers at Viacom for a while. I worked in branded content for many years. And really, I think branded content was what got me to sustainability because I think they go hand in hand. I don't have to teach creators to be good communicators. I just can help them lead the way on how do we find the right way to weave in messaging. And I think of climate action, everything very similar to how I think of people selling products, unfortunately, but that is how I think of it. And creators are really incredible at, hiding the broccoli and the peanut butter. Like they make something very interesting that isn't always interesting. So really my career from influencing got me to sustainability and working with creators in this space.
I love that, Ali. And I did not know that. We're learning so much from each other here on this panel. So I graduated in 2018 and I did environmental science at Berkeley. And actually, I remember when Kristy actually first created her platform on Brown Grow Green. And I said, whoa, like you're doing climate media storytelling. Like, what's that? And then that actually a year later, when I graduated, I created Queer Brown Vegan while I was working my full-time job. But I couldn't actually get an environmental job out of college. The first job I did work at was at a creative agency where I did a lot of brand strategy and campaigns for a lot of like editorial and luxury brands. And it was really funny because my coworkers always make fun of me of like, why is an environmentalist working at an agency? And I was like, well, I couldn't get a job at a nonprofit. So now I'm here. And I would say that that was like very informative for me. But I actually ended up going back into sustainability years later, but Queer Brown Vegan was a project that first came out of just like wanting to talk about climate and lifestyle things I was doing without the pressure of wanting to be an influencer or even thinking I was going to be an influencer. I think that was something interesting that climate creators or in the climate media space was even a thing back then.
Yeah, well, Isaias, I want to go back to you because, although you do content creation through videos, you also have a Substack and do writing. And so I want to talk about a little bit more on how you built, a diverse skill set and what those skills actually were to be a successful, content creator and storyteller and how those skills evolved over time. What were some of the things you had to build? And I love if you could talk a little bit about your book as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started I'm a former researcher. So in academia I actually worked in a lot of institutes at Berkeley. So I worked under the Center for Right-Wing Studies at UC Berkeley. It wasn't a right-wing institute. It was studying right-wing movements at UC Berkeley. And a lot of the times I had to develop political reports for them, which is very interesting because I was coming from the environmental science side. There was not really environmentalism directly talked about it in that way. And in academic research, I developed a way of how to write as a scientist. But I think that one of the things that really helped me develop communication skills on Substack was Instagram. I wasn't actually a good writer. I honestly was always told that I was a pretty bad writer. Like I had to edit my papers multiple times. And I think Instagram and other platforms allowed me to do that. That when I first started my account in 2019, it was an editorial account. So everything I wrote was these long form posts and these cheap infographics. And I would publish them on LinkedIn, Tumblr, all these other platforms. And that is actually how I found my literary agent. She reached out to me and she said, do you want to write a book? I think you have a very interesting voice. And I would say that what made the platform interesting wasn't just the science that was being communicated. It was actually I added my personal thoughts on the issues. And I think what we need to remember here for a lot of you here is that people already know the issues that are happening in our world. What people want to know more is how you deliver that content, how you write about it, but your own personal opinion on that, even if people disagree. And so when I created my Substack, Dear Environmentalist, a year ago, it was based on this idea of like, how do I translate all these short form pieces of video content into long form editorials? And so that actually allowed me to get my book deal because I think the publisher saw that, he could actually write and do all these things. But I would say that it took 4 years of writing nonstop since 2019 to get my book deal this year and actually writing the book right now. It's called Dear Environmentalist, published with Hatchet. And so we'll be done within the next 4 months, hopefully, and set to publish next year. So I would say that for people like trying to learn more about communication and like writing skills is that you don't just stop at your job. You can continue creating even if it doesn't make sense, even if it was horribly written. Like I look back at certain things, I'm like, there's so much grammar issues on this, and yet people still were like, I love how you write. And I'm like, okay, we do need to improve our literacy skills and writing skills here. Yeah, it's authentic though. It is authentic. So recognizing that perfectionism isn't always the thing that people want to see. I don't think I presented a clean cut image online, and I think that's what helped my writing skills develop.
I love that a lot. And going back to authenticity, I mean, as a content creator myself, I think a lot of people trust content creators more than they're trusting the mainstream media right now when it comes to climate news. So I would say that storytellers and your ability to have a platform these days can actually connect you more to resources, to communities, to being an educator online, even more than, your mainstream news channels. People are going to YouTube, to Instagram, to TikTok to get their news, even more so than they are to watching mainstream broadcast television. So we're seeing the shift, and there is still obviously definitely a place to reach different generations on broadcast media, but I think we're seeing that shift, and I think that's really exciting when it comes to diversifying climate media, because we see that the mainstream media in broadcast media is not talking about climate at the level that they need to. And I think, there has been incredible climate reporters that have been working really hard internally at those big, news stations to try to make a shift on that. But I think we are seeing that there is so much potential for content creation. And that doesn't just mean making videos. That, like we were saying, that means you could be a writer, you could be a podcaster, you can be a blogger. And I think that that's all really valuable. And I love what Isaias was saying, because I think he's a perfect representation of someone that's a part of that new wave of shifting that conversation. So Ali, you work with a lot of incredible communicators. And when it comes to authenticity, we know that that's how you build trust with an audience. So I wanted to ask you, like, from all the storytellers that you work with, what do you feel are their strengths that allows them to really sustain and grow a platform long term, to get people on board with what they're doing?
Yeah, they know their audience super well. That's the main thing, is they know who they're talking to. So we always say every channel can be a climate channel. So whatever way that you want to come at the narrative, that's the way that you should do it. If you don't want to say the word climate, that's okay. If you don't want to talk about the stats, that's okay. If you just want to show and not tell, that's okay too. And we really lean into the fact that they're the expert in the audience. So I'm never going to tell them exactly how to do something, because they're actually better than I am. I'm happy to open doors to experts and be like a great partner in putting this together. So I'm happy to do those things. But really, I lean into you guys to say, who are you speaking to, and how can I just help you on that mission? And that's been the best, is they know who they're speaking to and they continue to share it the way that they know best.
Yeah, it's been incredible to get to have a partnership with YouTube for this event. I think it was really unique and different for Pavilion compared to the past. And it's not something I've typically seen necessarily in like the climate jobs or workforce space. And I think that's exactly what makes this pavilion and this space special is that it is driven from a storytelling and content lens. And that's why I'm really proud of it because we're not only showing people jobs, we're also telling stories. We're also having critical conversations to connect the dots for people and give them a roadmap. You guys can also check all the recorded episodes from this broadcast and others on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/browngirlgreen. So if you guys missed any of the previous interviews and sessions from the past 2 days, make sure you like and subscribe at youtube.com/browngirlgreen. But jumping back into it, for people who are just starting out, obviously you said do it ugly, do it bad for writing or maybe putting out a video. I also would love, because you're a part of a lot of different cohorts and boards and programs, are there any programs that you'd recommend, like someone who is starting off in climate storytelling, like some, groups they could join or resources they could tap into to maybe explore that?
If you're trying to develop any communication, writing, media, marketing, is that there's a lot of like obviously unpaid fellowships that don't require that much labor. There's the Yale Climate Change Communications Fellowship, where they actually train young people in the cohort within 6 to 8 months of how to write editorial pieces and pitch them into, op-eds. And I actually did not get into the fellowships. I'm just a normalize. I applied 3 times, but now I'm on their board. So it's actually interesting that like things, how things switch over. But I would say that, like there's a lot of really great fellowships. And also I would say the resource that helped me is like building your own website was very strategic. I would also say write blog pieces on your website because you don't know who's finding it. That's how my literary agent found me, and that's honestly like she didn't find me on Instagram. She found me online. So I really think that like your website should just go beyond about who you are, what you do, but also your work. And I would say don't post your college work. Post your work currently. That reflects who you are today. But it helps you get to where you are now.
And I would say for video, I mean, long form is incredible. I think we need so much more long form content on YouTube in this space. But when you're just getting started, short form and the tools for short form right now make it so accessible and easy to just start out and try it. And you said it best, start messy and it will get better from there. But messy sometimes is where people want to see it. So
I love it. And my last question for you both is, you have brought it up in previous sessions, Isaias, like there is an inundation of information overload of so many people wanting to be a storyteller in all these spaces, which is amazing. But it can sometimes feel like, okay, well, what do I have to offer then if like everything's been said or people are saying it in different ways? So what would you recommend to someone who maybe is like, why does my voice matter? How do I even know what my voice is? How do I tap into that? What are your tips?
I think the best tip is to be fearless and like to do things that like use different platforms that exist today. Like there's YouTube, which I've been using for years now, and that's how Ali found me.
I know that's how.
That's how Ali found me on YouTube because I was like the very few climate creators on there. But I would say that like really just like post your thoughts and opinions anywhere. Or ask your friends, go to conferences, like speak to people about these discussions because that's actually what helped me. Is that we would go to conferences together and people would come up and say like you should write more about this online. I'm like, oh, I don't do that thing. And it's like, no, everyone uses digital media today. Everyone's always looking for new perspectives. And your perspective may be the one that lands you your job. I mean, that's literally how I got my other full-time jobs while I was transitioning into climate storytelling.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice to ask your friends. Think about what you are searching for that you're not finding in media. And really, there are still missing pieces in the storytelling part. And I find a lot of times talking to my friends, what would you watch, is sometimes where I find the best niches for us to continue to explore at YouTube for climate. So
I love that. I love that. Can we give everyone a round of applause?